Blog Talk Radio.
Indeed, make that change. It all begins with you. And I just want to welcome everybody to another great show. That, of course, was the late, great Michael Jackson. And just a little excerpt of his song, Man in the Mirror. It was all about changing yourself to change the world. And in my series here, I have quantum healer Jeremy McDonald tonight. And he is an international best-selling author and speaker with over 25 years of experience as a public speaker, coach, and quantum healer. With his diverse range of experience that spans from corporate settings to spiritual retreats in the mountains, Jeremy has been able to help many people find their full potential by aligning with their souls. And that is so true. I've known Jeremy for quite a few years now, and he's just a wonderful person that emanates so much love and light. And he has a book called Peace Be Still. It's like I mentioned earlier, he is the best-selling author of that book. And it can be found on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, as well as many other book sites. And speaking of websites, check out Jeremy's site, storytellingalchemist.com. You'll see videos of Jeremy. You'll see him also on TikTok and on his website. You know, there's so many great writings and just so much inspiration. I get so inspired by, looking at my Facebook feed in the morning and seeing what Jeremy puts up every day. It's just very positive and uplifting, and You'll see for yourself. I'm going to bring Jeremy on right now. Hi, Jeremy. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh,
it's been a while. It's been a while since we...
Yeah, it's been years since we did a show. We have to do more.
Yeah. It's hard to believe you've had your show for, about 10, 12 years now?
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah. I started August of 2012.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I started about a year before that, and you look back and I'm like, 10 years just passed.
I know. It goes so fast. I cannot tell you. It's just crazy how time flies. And I just get so much out of your teachings and your book, Peace Be Still. And now, as far as healing yourself to heal the world, what would you suggest? What would you like to share with everybody about that?
Well, that's one thing that it comes. I'm going to say this, and then everybody else, people are going to listen. They're going to hear it, but one day it's going to sink into their heart, and that's when they'll really get it. But because I went through the same journey, but you have to start with yourself, and it really comes down to heal. My teacher said to me many, many years ago, probably, her name is Reika. And she, about 26 years ago now, it doesn't even seem like that, but she kept on saying, you have to do your homework. And what she was meaning is she said, as you step into this world of doing healing work with other people to change the world, it's like Gandhi said, you have to be the change you want to see in the world. But what it means is that there's a lot of craziness going on in this world. And it's always actually been there, but it's now social media is making it very apparent, and it's right in front of us and that kind of stuff. So what I would say, what I worked very heavily on is finding peace within myself, so that even if something upsets me, I can respond in truth, but not in a way that's harmful. There's a difference between saying something that's truthful and very direct, and then you with the intent of healing as opposed to harming. And then what ends up happening, I was just doing a session with a lady earlier just before I came on the show, and I was doing energy work on her, and I was showing her that how when we are in fear or anxiety or pain, our energy pulls in. And when we're standing in the essence of spirit and the divine, and we're really in that empowered state, our energy is large and it's vibrant. And so what ends up happening is that this world is created with a bunch of different stimulus in it. And all these things can cause us to have fear, or it can have us to cause us to have love. And so as we're experiencing these different reactions and different responses to things, we can look at something and say, okay, I can see my reaction in this, and that's called self-awareness. And then as you're being self-aware, you can choose your response to it. You can choose to still be large and empowered, or you can choose to be scared and timid. And that's one of those things like, this conversation doesn't mean you don't do things to take care of your health. It doesn't mean you don't protect yourself. It doesn't mean you don't, do the things that you're supposed to do that you have to do in this third dimensional world. You have to pay your bills, all that kind of stuff. But it really starts with yourself and how you respond to the world. And it's interesting because I've been watching myself over the past several years. And when you first met me, I, of course, had my show and I was doing the healing work, and I'd just come off of my book tour and all that kind of stuff. But I've watched myself over the last 10 years, and I've watched all my friends over the last 10 years, the people who have been around me, and I've watched their lives grow. And it really comes down to because they've been working on themselves. So, yeah.
Wow. It's everything's changed so much, and, we all change. The only sure thing is change. And it's like you said, it's how you respond to it. And there's a few things about fear. Like fear stands for false evidence appearing real. And also Zig Ziglar, a successful businessman and public speaker, he had said fear is fear everything and run, or face everything and rise. So it's really a choice. And I choose to face everything and rise.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's one of those things where it doesn't matter. I mean, we're going to have experiences that are going to cause us to go into different responses. And even though I'm talking about this, I'm still a human being, and you're a human being. And so, I'll give you an example. Last year, I was laid off from my job, and so for about 6 months, I was out of work. And so, in an economy where our bills are not as cheap as they used to be,
Oh, yeah.
And so so I remember sitting in my couch in July, and I just felt this energy of fear. It was so deep within me that it was rising up in my energy field. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. And it wasn't like, a lot of times you fear, you could the thoughts are there and all that kind of stuff. But I had all these positive thoughts going on in my mind, like everything's going to be great. I'm going to have all these cool things happen. That's where my mindset was. But I could feel this energy of fear. It was all an anxiety just coming up through the body. And so I sat in that for hours and hours and hours. And so finally it surfaced into my thoughts. And so what I realized is this is part of our healing journey, that this situation had brought up old patterns that I hadn't looked at in a very long time, deep within my psyche or my energy, that I had kind of shelved, in a sense, and hadn't necessarily faced them. And so it was a way to really practice what I preach. And so I remember some days I sat there and I said, I still have a home. I have food in my refrigerator.
Yeah.
And you have to, and this is the practice. Charles Fillmore said that it's spirituality is a lifelong process. And so it's not something that's a quick fix. And so it's not even about a fix. It's about transmuting the energy within you into something that serves you better at a higher good. And so I remember then I looked back to where I had experienced this before, back in 2006 to about 2010, where I didn't have a lot of work. I didn't have a lot of money coming in, even for healing and coaching and stuff like that. But this time, I had a lot of business coming in for the healing and coaching, but it wasn't enough to cover the bills that I have. And I just kept on saying to the divine, I kept on saying, I know you'll take care of me. I know everything is going to be fine. And I literally, even though the fear was there, I just kept on talking to the fear and saying, it's going to be okay. And one of the things you have to say is you have to say no to the fear, and then you have to give the new thought. And the new thought is everything is going to be fine. And I let go. And I was actually walking around my apartment saying to the TVs and the apartment and the couch and the beds, and saying, if you're not meant to be in my life, then I let you go. And what I was doing here, and this is the process that I've started to teach now, is I was looking at these things, these physical objects, and saying, if you're not meant to be a part of my life, then I let you go, because it really doesn't matter, because if I would have lost this apartment or this, I can guarantee you I would have gotten something better, something that better served me and my highest good. And so what ended up happening is then I'd applied for all these jobs, and I was doing all this work to speak at all these different places. And one day a job just popped in my life. It wasn't even one I applied for. Somebody called me from the posting, and I get to work at home. I still get to work on my healing work. I get to jump on the radio shows when I'm interviewing, and doing my work. I get to travel anywhere in the world that I want to travel with my job in my work. And so I giggled, because I thought, wow, not only did the divine, God, Spirit, take away the old and brought in the new that better served my soul's purpose. And I thought, well, here's the lesson, is that we're so busy trying to control what we have now and not losing it. But I will leave this with everybody, and this is a powerful statement. You can't lose anything that is divinely given to you, that is divinely yours. It's impossible. And what ends up happening is that something may seem like it's leaving, and then it comes back. When it's something like a person could leave your life, and then they come back when there's time for them. Like you both go out and you grow, and then you come back into each other's lives. And I've had things that have gone missing, material objects have gone missing, and they just reappear in my life like months later. I'm sure other people that are listening have had this experience. before. I said, but what ends up happening is we try to hold on to things so tightly that we're so tense inside. The energy in the body, the chi in the body is not flowing correctly. And then we already know that what we put out there comes back tenfold. And so if we put out anxiety and fear and tension, guess what the universe is going to bring us? God's going to bring us more anxiety and tension.
Yeah.
So
it's like your wish is my command. Hey, you want some more fear and anxiety and tension? Here, I'm going to send it right on back to you, because the Earth has a magnetic field. You have a magnetic field. And if you keep, pushing out thoughts and words and even deeds into the Earth's magnetic field, guess what? I call it the cosmic boomerang. It just comes right back at you.
Yeah. And it's so wonderful, because then I started realizing, wait, because we're so busy trying to create and manifest the details. And here's the deal. Like, I realized, I started saying, I want the best of everything, but I want it divinely given. And what that means is that if I'm a part of this great cosmos and this consciousness, if I'm an aspect of that, if I'm a cell within the body of God, or whatever you want to refer to it as, the universe or spirit or whatever, if I'm the part of that, then there is no way possible that that being or that energy would want me to suffer. Because really what it comes down to is that would be very self-defeating on its part.
Oh, yeah.
On God's part. And so what ends up happening is that we've convinced ourselves that we don't deserve. So on an intellectual level, we start to say, no, I deserve the best. But we don't feel it in our hearts. And so our hearts respond with fear and anxiety and doubt and uncertainty and anxiety and all those things. And so what I realized is that, well, what if I started talking to the energy of fear and anxiety and all those programs that have been given and handed down to me by people that were very loving and, that they thought they were teaching the right things. And what I'm now as an adult, as a spiritual being, you have and we all have the right to say no to that programming and say, this is how I choose to live. And it's not about your buildings or your apartments or your houses or your cars and all that. It's about how you feel inside. And all those other things just seem to unfold. And it's one of those things where then I start putting in my orders with the universe and with God. Like, I'm literally living in my dream apartment that I've wanted since I was a kid. I'm living on water. I'm living in an apartment that's good size where I can have a guest over because I have a guest bedroom. I'm living with stores in my apartment building with a coffee shop, and I've always wanted to live in a building where I could just walk downstairs, get coffee, go to the bakery, go to the butcher shop, and that's all here in my apartment. And it's one of those things, it's because I chose to be happy and emanate the choice of happiness. And so I started realizing, I was like, because I was so busy trying to push it and make it happen. And a lot of us out there are trying to push it and make it happen. And
I'm one of those people, and it's it's the process of unlearning certain behaviors. You're a go-getter, I'm a go-getter, but when I first heard the concept, and I believe it was from you, that you can just attract things to yourself, I was like, oh, come on, you have to work for it. And there's a certain, to a certain degree you can do that. But, I'm finding the same thing. If I'm in a good mindset, if I'm in a happy place and just not stressing it or causing resistance, because that was one major problem that I had, was causing resistance in myself by trying to force the outcome. And you can't do that. You just put the intention out there of what you want and just let it be. Just know that it's going to happen, and all in divine timing.
Yeah, all in divine timing. And it's one of those things where, and now where the conversation gets messed up is that everybody thinks that yeah, we do attract what, things that we want. And it doesn't mean we don't act on opportunities.
Right.
So, and, like you asked me to be on the show. I mean, I could have drugged my feet for a couple of weeks and not said anything, and then responded back to you, and that would have done a couple things. One, you would have been like, "Is he okay?" And B, and B wouldn't have been, you might have been booked, because you've had other shows booked, because life goes on for you, and one of those things, and so when things come, opportunities come in, we can pray about it and say, is this right for me or whatever? You can do all that kind of stuff, but act on it. And so, like, I'm putting on like we were talking about for the show, I'm putting on a metaphysical, the Mystic Fair in Tampa, and I'm doing a collaboration with another church. And so, we had the conversation, and then we started acting on it. And so one of those things, and what's happening is the momentum, it just started clicking this weekend. And I started getting all these phone calls from potential vendors and all that kind of stuff. But you have to start to have the momentum start. And you have to put the intention out. But now if it wasn't meant to be, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, it's so true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
you
so,
put the intention out, and you just act on opportunities. But just try not to push it or overthink it, because that was my problem for a long time.
And have fun with it. Have fun with it. And it's one of those things where, you and I have had a show for a long time, each of us, and I remember I used to get frustrated when, I'd just have a few people listening, and then I'd be like, but I'm supposed to be having fun with this.
Yeah. I was interviewing an old friend of mine that I used to work in the post office with, John J. Lawless. He first taught me about the law of attraction. At first, when I wasn't ready to hear it, but then it eventually sunk in. We're going back, at least 16 years ago. And, we were just talking about this very same thing, about the law of attraction, not pushing things, but acting on opportunities. And, it's just amazing what happens naturally when you don't push it. There's a difference between pushing and acting on something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it all comes in the heart. Like, I think it's Carolyn Wise, I think that's her name. I always mess up her last name. But she said,
Carolyn Miss?
Yes.
MYS?
She always says the 18-inch journey. Yes, you got it. She always talks about the 18-inch journey from the head to the heart.
Yeah.
And it's really because we're in our head so much, so we're trying to overthink it. And I remember I used to teach this group, had this group at Sacred Grounds Coffee House in Tampa back in 2008, and that's where I met Sylvie Ann. And so what I remember I used to say, you can't logic your way into heaven. And that didn't really hit me as hard as it did back then as it did recently over the past couple of years. And I'm like, I've been so busy trying to logic all this. And this is the thing. What I want everybody to realize is that the process. Everybody always asks when your awakening moment was, and I'm like, I've had a bunch of them.
Yeah, which one? Let's choose from the catalog here.
Right. Well, do you remember the old Saturday morning cartoons when they had the little shorts and they had the little thing, and the guy would say "Eureka"?
Yeah.
And it was always. And so it's like we have those all the time. And so, 15, 16 years ago when I first was teaching that at a coffee house here in Tampa, it made sense at some level, obviously, because I was teaching it. But then, several years later, I was like, oh, we're trying to logic our way into this. We're trying to figure it out. We're trying to get all the dynamics down. We're trying to get all this stuff down. And I remember that this particular apartment I lived in, I used to sit at Beef O'Brady's every Saturday morning. I'd go to Beef O'Brady's, Saturday afternoon, and I'd have lunch. And I remember I'd sit at the window and I'd look at this building and I'd say that or better. And I would just say that or better. And so when I had to move, when I needed to move, I remember very clearly I knew I needed to get a better income. And so I started applying for work. And I had 15 job interviews lined up. The most I had companies calling me to get work. And then the day I got the soft offer for the job I got, I said to myself, I'm going to see if I can get into that apartment.
Yeah.
So I went into my email, and there was an email there that said, we have availability. Now, if anybody knows anything about Florida in 2021, it was almost impossible to find a place. And so, there was a 6-month waiting list to get in here. So I put in the application right away. I paid for the application fee because I'd already looked at the apartments online for the past year. I called the next morning, and they got me signed up to get in. I put the deposit down. I was actually number 11 on the waiting list. Somehow I moved from 11 to 1 and got my apartment.
Oh, wow.
And so it's one of those things. And so it's one of these things where the doubt, if it's meant for you to have something, if it's meant for you to be somewhere, or if it's meant for you to be with somebody or have this job or do this type of work or whatever it's supposed to be, it will happen. And so it's one of those things. And if it's not meant for you to do it, you don't want to do it anyways. Because
right.
Trust me, you and I have both gone through some perilous times where we were trying to push something, and you're like, oh, I saw all the red flags on that. I didn't follow it. I so wanted it. And there was all these red flags, and so.
And sometimes it could just be not right now, maybe later, or maybe not at all. Either way, I'm okay with it now. I used to stress out so bad when it seemed like an opportunity would just, the door of opportunity would just slam shut in my face, and like, one door opens, another one closes, I guess.
Yeah, and it's such a fun life when it comes down to that. And it's like, and I know you can relate to this. We've both met some cool people throughout the years. I mean, some really fun people. And we have, especially through Sarah, we've met a lot of cool people. But it's, even still, like this work and this way of living is just so much fun. And I always say every day is an adventure. And then I wake up every morning and I have this feeling, and I'm sure everybody relates to this at some level. The Christmas morning, you're waking up and you're about 6 years old and you're walking out to the living room and you turn in that corner and you're so excited to look at the tree, the Christmas tree. I want you to have that same energy every morning when you wake up. And then I want you to say to Spirit, surprise me.
Yeah.
And see what happens. I mean, like a couple weeks ago, I got a car wash for free because the credit card machine was down. And some people would say, "Oh, that's just coincidence." And I'm like, "Who cares? It's still fun."
Yeah, it is. It is. Sometimes, what I do now. I've been doing it for a while without even thinking about it, but manifesting great parking spaces and just manifesting all these opportunities that come to me. And it's just been amazing. What an amazing turnaround from 15 years ago, where I used to expect the worst. If you expect the worst, you get the worst, because you're like a magnetic, like I said in previous broadcasts, we're radio antennas, walking, talking radio antennas that we emit and receive energy. And whether that energy is where our power is our thoughts, our speech, and our deeds. And they're all, positively, could be positively or negatively charged. It's all up to you.
You just made me think of, I'm sure you knew you probably had Les Jensen on your show before. Or do you know who he is? Les Jensen.
No, I've never had Les on the show.
well, here's what's cool about him is what he does for a living other than his spiritual work is that's what he does is he works on radio antennas.
Oh my God.
So for
so
radio
funny.
stations, and that would be a fun conversation to have with him.
That would
so,
be.
Yeah, I think he's an electrical engineer, and he's just one of the smartest, nicest, kindest people. And so, but you're right, we are radio antennas, and it's energy. And it's energy, and it flows to us, and it flows away from us. And and Wayne Dyer, I think, said it best. We don't attract what we want; we attract who we are.
Exactly.
So if you always think the worst is going to happen, it will happen. If you always think the best of everything is going to happen for you, it will happen. And the Buddha said to his disciples, one disciple came up and said one thing similar to, the world is always going to work against me. And the Buddha said, you're right. And the next disciple said, the world is just marvelous and everything is wonderful. And the Buddha said, you're right. And then the third disciple said, well, wait a second, they can't both be right. And the truth is that they were both right. Because the world unfolds the way we feel about ourselves. And most of us don't value ourselves. It's one of those things where we don't value who we are. I mean, I remember for years I would give away things for free all the time. And I would just do things for free. And then I realized one day it's not about money. It's really not about money at all. It's really about valuing my time.
Right.
So, and the energy that I put into, because I was constantly out helping other people, and then they wouldn't grow, and I would get frustrated. So guess who else wasn't growing? Me.
Right, you, because you were stuck
in a loop.
Yeah.
And now I have people where I get the choice. Though sometimes I'll work with somebody that really needs help, and I can see that they're really trying their best. And I'll tell them, I was like, you don't have to pay because, for whatever reason. And it's really funny because they will literally insist on paying me.
Wow.
And so I can't even tell them I can't do it. And I said, and I've had some people where I say, well, why don't we just exchange, for whatever reason. And I have a client who's a nurse practitioner, and so she she does an IV with vitamins and for me every 2 weeks. So it helps me with my health. And so it's one of those things where everything just comes into our life that we need. And so then she does a session on the table with me. So it's a wonderful, wonderful, amazing life, because that's what I mean. That's what I meant. It's not all about money. It's about abundance and value.
It is. I've tried to help people, especially people that are addicted, to kick their addiction. Mm-hmm. And really that's a journey of their own. I found that I had to go through the experience of being a codependent person. And codependency is when you take on other people's stuff when you don't want to deal with your own. That's at least my story anyway. And I used to bury myself in work, trying to help other people, which I really did enjoy, but I didn't realize that was a coping mechanism for me to deal with the stuff that I'd been suppressing for a long time. Yeah. And that's, part of the healing I had to do to myself, so I wouldn't feel like frustrated or angry at somebody, because they didn't really ask for the help. I just kind of put my super suit cape on and I came running into the rescue because I thought that was my mission in life, but it's really not. Yeah. And I feel like
that's our addiction too, to want to be the savior.
Yes.
So because it's an addiction for us too.
Yeah. It's part of our healing to learn when to back off and say, hey, if somebody really wants healing, they will come to me, instead of the opposite.
The other thing too is, like, if you're energetically helping everybody else and they're not helping themselves, but you're out there putting that cape on, you realize the thing we have to realize is that there's other people out there that need our help, and they're the ones that are trying to get in energetically to you, but our energy is so, wrapped up in, helping somebody that's not supposed to be in our space or not supposed to be getting the help because they're not ready. And so, like, I'll give you an example. Like, I've really learned this a lot. Like, we hold on to something so tightly, and then the energy, we don't allow the new energy to come in because we have this old here with us. And then, it's a lot of other things. Like, during COVID, I decided I was going to go back to college because, especially during lockdown, we didn't have much to do.
Yeah.
And it was something that I had always thought about doing. I finished the last classes I had of my bachelor's degree, and then I finished my master's degree in education. And a lot of people have said, you don't need that. And I'm like, of course I don't. Maybe I don't, but the thing is that I want it, and I feel it, and it makes sense. And so, during that time frame, that took up a lot of time. So I didn't have a lot of time to take clients or that kind of stuff. But as soon as I was done, the phone calls have been coming in. And so that's really what happens is the universe and God understands, because remember, God's sitting on top of the Empire State Building, and we're down in Manhattan walking around. We're these little dots for him. But he's saying, hey, he calls us on the phone and he says, hey, make a left at that road that you're at. But we're so stubborn because we make a right. And he's like, if you just went down there, there was $1,000 sitting on the sidewalk that was you, and only you were going to see it.
Oh my God.
And so, we're so preoccupied, and he's sitting up there going, hey, if you just look up and put your phone down for a second, then you would see this beauty right in front of you, or there's this person you're going to run into and they're going to need your help. But you're on the phone trying to codependently help somebody else that has never listened to you but just uses your energy all the time.
Right, yeah.
And so one of those things where, God's sitting up there going, hey, hear me out. I'm trying to help you. I'm your biggest advocate. I'm your agent.
Yeah.
And we're just, and it's true. New Yorkers sit with their phones, with their headphones in, and they look down, walking. I'm not sure how they don't run into each other, but they don't. They just seem to be able to navigate without looking at each other.
Yeah. Me neither. I always laugh when I see people crossing the street. It happened just 2 days ago. And I'm like, they're not even looking up, but yet they're walking okay. They're just crossing the street like they're the boss. You know what I mean?
Because they're on autopilot. They're also on autopilot, and they're missing all this stuff going on around them.
Yeah, and the power of now is very important. And I learned this 2 different ways. Eckhart Tolle has a book called The Power of Now. And actually, speaking of Reverend Lima, she actually, showed me that book. And that was very powerful because it taught me the importance of being in the moment. And that's where your power lies, too. Once you slow down all your thought processes and just kind of just be and just absorb everything, look around, know you're, just kind of take in the scenery, just notice the food that you're eating. Are you chewing too fast? Are you, looking at the clock constantly? In The Peaceful Warrior, the movie, Lee actually, he recommended that movie for me too. It was about a real-life gymnast who lived the fast life, rode his motorcycle real fast, was a partier and everything. And then he meets a guardian angel, which really, really happened. And Socrates, Nick Nolte played Socrates. That was his name in the movie. And he was just a simple guy, just wearing jeans and a shirt. And he had so much wisdom to give. And he said, "What time is it?" He would ask. It was Dan Millman. Dan Millman was the
Way of the Peaceful Warrior.
Yeah, Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And that taught
Yeah.
me, like you were saying, the power of now. You know, and Socrates would ask Dan, well, what time is it? And then Dan would look at the clock, and he said, no, what time is it? He said, now. And I was just like, whoa, that just took my breath away. You know, just be in the moment, stay in the moment, and, you know, just kind of anchor yourself, your spirit and your body, and just notice everything instead of being disconnected and discombobbled. That was a major lesson for me too.
Yeah, it really is. It really is powerful. And this journey we're on, and everybody, you know, everybody's listening, be good to yourself. I mean, it's just one of those things where we're on this journey, and you know, I've had some things that have happened in my life where it's very hurtful. I've had some things in my life where I've misunderstood things and gotten myself hurt based on my own misunderstandings. You know, we're all just going through this life trying to figure things out and doing the best we can. And that's the 4 agreements, right? You know,
right.
We do the best that we can with what we have. And so, you know, I've had people say things to me, and then I twist it in my mind because we have this monkey mind.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the best things is I can say to people is be good to yourself. And then if you don't understand something, ask somebody, you know, hey, what did you mean by this? Because this is how I'm taking it. But that could be about me. And so what you're doing is you're opening up the doorway to basically say, I could be misunderstanding your intentions. And then in this world right now, we've got everybody that's in a lot of pain. I mean, there's a lot of emotional anxiety and pain going on right now. And when it comes to like things like social media, I won't even respond to anything that you can just feel the energy of anger or whatever. And then if somebody says something that kind of takes me back a little bit, I might actually message them and say, hey, I'm taking that this way. How do you mean that? Because I don't want to take it the wrong way, especially if it's somebody I know really well. And so in that way, because people don't even realize that the written word is only 7% of our actual communication, because in written word, you don't have voice inflection, you don't have body language, you don't have any of those things that you can tell where somebody's either kidding or you can tell that they're not trying to. And so why that's important is because we don't want our energy wrapped up in constant reactions. And so all of us at some level get on social media. And so where people are really putting out their social media, or the anger in social media and their frustrations, for whatever their opinion is, it doesn't even really matter. One of the things we could do to heal things in this world is to be really clear and impeccable with our words, and don't assume anything. That's the 4 agreements.
Right.
So,
you know, I found the word assume. And what does that mean? It means if you assume ASS, you make an ass out of you and me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, assume is the first 3 letters of assume is ass. It's true though. I mean, I've done it. And anybody that says they haven't done that assumption thing, like we have these conversations in our mind. And I know everybody can relate to this, because you get in an argument with somebody, you get hurt by whether your boss or your spouse or whoever, your friend or whatever, and you start thinking in your mind, and if they say this, I'm going to say this. You literally have the conversation in your mind before you have it with the person. And so then you get there, and 9 times out of 10, you don't even say half the things you were thinking. And so, but here's the thing. Your energy just got all tore up, hurt, and instead of just being, not assuming, and being impeccable with your word, the damage that you caused was in yourself. And so that's where we really got to be mindful of this. And then if you look at the human energy system, the chakras, the throat chakra is about living and speaking your truth. It's not just about speaking truth. It's about living your truth. And so, because that's your empowerment. And so when when we go and we act or respond on things with people, we want to speak in an empowered state, not a powerful state, an empowered state. And we want to do it through our hearts. We want to let the energy through our heart come through our throat. And so it's really an interest. The dynamics of how we work energetically are so fascinating to me. And I really just feel it's incredible, because we could really change. We could change this world. Like, as you asked me at the beginning of the show, if we were to change the world, if everybody out there would start looking at their internal reactions to things, if they would start having a conversation with themselves before they react on the outside of themselves, meaning if they start to get upset or hurt, if they start to freak out a little bit, like we've got a lot of stuff going on in the news right now, and I'm not going to lie, there's some of it that starts to trigger me inside, and I start to get upset, and then I stop and I go, wait a second, stop. If I'm going to respond to this, I'm going to respond in truth and love. And so people think that love is weak. Because I've had people say, well, I'm not going to love. I'm going to respond with anger because I'm angry. I'm pissed off. And they didn't know that I'm pissed off. And I'm like, I get what you're saying. And you could still say with love or compassion, that is incorrect what you're doing. And this is the reason why, because you haven't thought about the consequences of your reactions. And you can say it in a way where it's strong, empowered, but it's not harmful. And so that's just one of those things where, Martin Luther King, one of the things he did is he did a lot of things where he sat in and said, we're not leaving until you serve us. Because what he was trying to do is he was trying to make the point that you do not have the right to deny us service because of who we are as a race of people.
Right.
If he went in there with baseball bats and started knocking things over, he wouldn't have won. He wouldn't have gotten the traction that he got.
Right.
And that's the strength that we have inside of ourselves. And I didn't believe all that for the longest time. And then I started with my friends or the people that I was with, or things that came up. I worked in call centers for many, many years, and I started practicing with customers screaming at me at the top of their lungs, calling me names. And then I finally said to people, if you want to find enlightenment, work for a call center.
Oh my God!
because what if you can respond with strength, with empowerment, and with compassion through your heart and truth to those people screaming at you. I had the CEO of Paramount Pictures tell me once, because he didn't get his bottle of water, tell me that I was an imbecile and that I should be fired, and he was going to call our CEO to him, and I was one of the supervisors. And I said, sir, I hear what you're saying, and I understand that you're frustrated. Why don't we start working on getting you your products so that you don't have to be frustrated? Could we make that deal? And he's like, sure.
That's good. That takes a lot of power to do that.
Yes. Strength comes from not responding in the way that they need you, or the way they want you to respond. You respond in the way that is true to who you are.
Exactly. And I'm just so glad you said that. It was synchronicity, and I'm getting chills, because there's somebody, in my family that's constantly bringing up past stuff that is kind of like constantly poking me with, with a fire poker in a verbal way. And I've learned to pretty much be still and just not the best. And I said to another family member of mine, I said, you know what, the best response is none, or just smile and laugh back. Whenever they're throwing shade at you, you throw light right back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about light, I had this gentleman say this to me years ago, and he said, when the lights come on, the cockroaches run.
Yeah, they do.
And I was like, and at first I was like, what? And I was like, he's right, because darkness has to run from light. And it doesn't even really run. Here's the interesting part. In natural law, there's the law of transmutation. So if light comes on, then really darkness doesn't go anywhere. It literally just starts to absorb itself into the light. And what is light?
Yeah.
It's truth. It's truth. That's all.
Yeah, it is the truth. You know, the darkness always runs away from the light. It's true. And, you know, just be present, speak your truth in a loving way, and you get your power back. And I wanted to play a little song Right Here, Right Now by Jesus Jones, popular in the 90s. And it came out around the time of when the Iron Curtain went down, you know, when the wall fell down. And it's just a powerful song, and it just, what we were talking about before about being present, you know, this song is all about that, and just kind of taking a look around at the world and seeing it change, and it's such a positive song. So I figured it would take a little break, and I'll play that song next, and I'll bring right back.
Sounds good.
The Power of Now, that was Right Here, Right Now by Jesus Jones. And that song is so positive, and it talks about hope and how things can change, you know, in the wink of an eye. And I believe the same thing's going to happen. with this whole situation with Russia and Ukraine and China and all them. We just have to get in the mindset of healing ourselves first and then emanating out our frequencies. So I'm going to bring Jeremy back on to talk a little bit more about that. Hey, Jeremy. Welcome back.
Thank you. That was a great song.
Oh,
love it.
I love it. It's a great song. And it always pumps me up. I have another song in queue, Peace in Our Time by Eddie Money. I'll play that a little bit later. But I thought that was perfect because we were talking about the now before. So, yeah. So
you'd mentioned just before you brought me on about Ukraine and Russia and China and stuff like that. What I would say to everybody is that start seeing those government officials, our government officials, the people of those countries, the people of our country, start seeing them in a peaceful state. Start feeling them and feeling yourself in a peaceful state. Start praying for those people and start praying for the government officials, the heads of the government, and pray for clarity for them. Pray for understanding and compassion for them. And so now people will start to go into their mind and say, no, they need to be held accountable. Maybe. And the interesting part about that is if you're praying for clarity and compassion for their souls, if somebody's doing something wrong that's going against their soul and other people's soul, it is compassion to have them held accountable because we want to help their soul achieve the highest state for themselves. So it's one of those things where I was always in this physical world, always so upset about things that are happening. And, why are they doing this to me? Why are they trying to steal my rights? Why are they trying to this? Why did this job let me go? Why did this happen? And angry. And then I started thinking, well, what if I actually saw them healing and in compassion? And so we already know that the world comes back tenfold. So karma takes care of everything. We don't have to worry about that. And karma is not a punishment. Karma is just cause and effect. And so if somebody is putting out there, let's say somebody's angry and they're the president of a country and they cause war and harm a bunch of people, well, karmically there's going to be something that comes back to them because of cause and effect. And so, and then the other interesting thing is that when you realize that we don't die, our physical self dies, but energy, this is physics, basic physics, energy doesn't go anywhere. It can't be gotten rid of. It's always there. It just transmutes form. And so we go from one form to the next.
That's right. My friend Daniel Ackner, he's a psychic medium and a fantastic, phenomenal artist. He always talks about these bodies that we rent. And it's so true. We're only here for a certain amount of time, and we're here to learn. This is Earth School 101, and nobody said it would all be fun. My friend Alan Arcieri, rest in peace, he wrote the book Earth School 101, and he talks about a lot of this stuff. And, we're just basically in this school of life, and we're here to learn, through happy times, through not so happy times, and learn to appreciate each other, appreciate what we have, and just learn to be happy, just kind of peeling that onion of old beliefs and old thoughts, and just at the core, get to the core of ourselves and just come from a place of love instead of fear and worry and anger.
Yeah. And that puts us in an empowered state. When we start to feel like we're losing control, and the things that I'm talking about tonight on this show is things that I didn't really fully believe even 5 years ago. And so, but then I started really getting clear. The pandemic did amazing things for me because I didn't have anything else to do other than sit here. And then I decided to go to school, of course. But and so one of the things I started doing is I was like, all these things that I had heard from my spiritual teachers and everything else that I hadn't necessarily practiced, I started practicing. So, and then I started getting things like if something wasn't going my way, I started getting frustrated. Like I was telling you guys about earlier about my apartment and not having a job, as I started turning to spirit. And that's a spiritual class 101. We turn to spirit. You know, Christians say we turn to God or we turn to Jesus, and there's nothing wrong with any of those terms. But you're turning to a higher power. So one of the things that I started doing is I started practicing that. And so, and as soon as you start to practice it, the universe is going to send you a bunch of experiences to practice it.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
And so, you know, I had somebody driving by me the other day that literally, I mean, it was just yesterday. They were driving down 19 and they were swerving in and out of traffic. They were literally riding up on this woman's car and just leaning on the horn. I mean, it was really, I mean, my mind went, what a jerk. And and that's dangerous. And so then I immediately stopped after I said, what a jerk, he's going to hurt somebody. And internally I started saying, you know, God protect all those people and protect him too.
Yeah,
you know,
I always envision like a pink bubble.
Yeah.
Surrounding him.
Yeah, pink bubble of protection is surrounding him because here's the deal, I don't want him to get hurt either.
Right.
So whatever he's going through in that moment, you know, we really don't even know. I mean, he could have his first baby being born at the hospital and he's trying to rush there, or he's trying to rush to the hospital because his mother is on her deathbed and he wants to say goodbye to her. There's a lot of things that we don't even know. And my immediate reaction was, what a jerk, he's going to hurt somebody. And you can correct that and say no. And that's where your choice comes in. And that's when you start really changing your life and going into an abundant state. Because if I'm turning to the divine or God or the universe to take care of something, then I'm choosing the greatest currency in the universe. And that's what I want everybody to start thinking. You don't work for your jobs. You work for the greatest CEO in the galaxy, the universe, whatever you want to refer to it. And that's what created everything. So you're down here doing that work, whatever it is. You could be a nurse or a doctor, a postal worker, a police officer. You know, you could be the convenience store worker. Because even as a convenience store worker, you have the empowerment. Because I've seen people that work in those jobs that just radiate happiness. And all the people that they see, imagine who they're affecting in the mornings when everybody's going off to work, getting their coffee and getting their gas and trying to get to work, and they're all frantic to get there on time, dealing with traffic. And this person just smiles and says, have a great day. Think about how important their job is. They have an amazing job of affecting and impacting people. And so we've got to flip how we think about things. Because it's really, and then what will end up happening is that's practice ground for them. So they get to go, then the universe is going to take them into another job or another experience where they're helping other people. And so at different levels. And that really occurred to me when I thought about when I was 23 years old and I got my first call center job taking Best Buy customer service calls and Kmart customer service calls, and got yelled at and screamed at. And, you know, at 23, I was definitely a smart aleck. And so, you know, and throughout the years of practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing, and then I really started realizing what was changing. Well, it was changing because I was also talking, my internal dialogue with myself was changing. Because, and then as that changed inside of me, I got a lot less experiences of people screaming at me, yelling at me, because my energy had changed.
Right.
So you get to practice.
You know, I'll tell you a story. Oh, I have a similar story to tell you. When I worked in the Postal Service, you know, I loved the job. It's kind of like the Army, the toughest job you'll ever love. But one day I was just not feeling good. I was just not feeling it. I'm like, oh man, I got to go in today. I know what's going to go wrong. I'm going to be short in my drawer. I'm going to, have problems with people. Just don't want to do it today. But I went anyway. Sure enough, I had, it's like having like a battle going on in my mind, a tug of war. And I went, and I went up to the front. I was a clerk, and I sold stamps and mailed packages, which I love to do. But there was this one woman, and she just had a violent reaction to me. And I was nice as pie to her. I did, I was professional. I always was professional and kind and courteous. And this woman just went off on me. And I'm like, holy cow. I'm like, what did I do that was so wrong? And it wasn't until years later that I realized with all, with everything I've experienced and gone through and the metaphysical training, that what I was sending out was anger and, just not wanting to be there that day. And, and then of course I was short in my drawer that night. So everything I thought about, I brought about. So, that's just how powerful we are, everybody. Just our thoughts.
Yeah.
And, when I had metaphysical teachers tell me, oh, well, you have so much power. I'm like, where? I'm like, where is this power? How can I use it? Can I win the lottery with it? And it just really, it's about emanating, just working through your issues, and then just, not ignoring your issues or suppressing them like I used to back then, but to work on myself and to acknowledge what I was going through and just kind of say, okay, well, this situation stinks, but you know what? I will get through this, and things will get better. And it's very important that you acknowledge what you're going through. And, I can't stress enough, because the subconscious mind, you have the conscious mind, where you're awake and doing your thing every day, and there's a subconscious mind that usually kicks in at night through your dream state. And the subconscious mind is the record keeper of all hurts, and it kind of recycles old programming and negative stories that either somebody told you as a kid or that you told yourself. So, that was a major, major lesson. And you have to do the work. You have to clear it.
Well, what ends up happening, too, is that the most amazing thing I realized, and this is one of the things I learned in my master's degree program, is we have long-term memory and short-term memory. We all know that. And, and so things in long-term memory, it's not necessarily there in your current thoughts. It pulls up when we need it. So your body actually acts like a computer. So there's random access memory, and then there's RAM and ROM. What is basically long-term memory and short-term memory. And so the interesting part about your brain and information travels in your body with electricity, because you are full of electricity in your body. And so when something surfaces, and I used to call them, I think the beach balls underwater, because I saw this in the movie The Shadow Effect. And so, but what ends up happening is some trauma that happened to you, and this is something that happened to me with my mother. And when I was 6 years old, we were moving into a new house, and I guess I don't even know how I was behaving that day, but obviously I was behaving in a manner that got my mother upset. And she looked at me and she says, "Why are you being such a jerk today?" And she said, "Why are you being such a little jerk today?" And that reaction from her stuck with me, the energy of it, until it popped into my head when I was 36. So 30 years later. And I had realized that what it had done is I actually had some resentment towards my mother, and I was responding to her about certain things because I always felt like she was trying to mom me. Well, when I finally actually said to her, this happened, and this started a pattern, what it did is it started a pattern of experiences through us. Now, we had good relationship. But it was just one of those things where we had an even better relationship after that. Because then I said, and this is how I felt, and she said, Gina, I don't even remember that. And so, but the energy stuck with me, and and then I would react to her about things, about this momming, momming me all the time. And so, but it was good because what ended up happening is, she only lived another couple of years after that, and then we started really being open and honest with each other about how we felt. And it's not like we weren't honest before, but now we were getting to the deep stuff. And we were starting to actually turn from son and mom to, adult friends, which is what parents, a lot of times our parents raise us and then we become friends with them. Because you become an adult. And then, my mom learned things from me and I learned things from her. And, one of my spiritual teachers named Virginia Drake, she and I have been friends now for 16 years. And, she's even said, I've learned so much from you, and I considered her my student, my teacher, but she says, I've learned a lot from you too, because as you process through things and we talk about them, then I learn from it because you see it differently than I do. And so what's really interesting, everybody's looking for this process of the way to look at things and how to take it step by step. And that was one of the key things she taught me is that we all do it different.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're different people. So.
We are. And we all have our own journey to go through, whether it's illness, addiction, abuse, whatever, being broke all the time. It's a transition, and we have to learn to transform it. And that's part of the Earth School 101 lessons here. I've gone through a lot of that stuff, and all I can say is I am thankful for the journey. I just wish it wasn't as painful as as it's been, but it's okay because it's all part of the learning process. But it's like, okay, God, give me an easier assignment, please. But it is what it is, and I deal with what I deal with, and as somebody with that had been diagnosed with multiple illnesses, literally like a grocery list of them, and there was only one common denominator, me. And that was a hard pill to swallow, that I actually created all this in my body, and now I'm trying to unlearn the behaviors to get rid of all this. So, I'm a work in progress, under construction, whatever you call it. Both the teacher and the student at the same time, and it's just like the Jetsons. Jane, get me off this crazy thing, but But,
well, the other thing is, like, why would you want to be perfect? I want to throw that out there, everybody. Everybody's trying so hard to be perfect and not look bad. But why would you want that? I mean, I don't want it. I don't want to be perfect. And here's the reason why. Because I want to have fun with my exploration of myself and my journey. And when you flip the idea about life as this adventure, like one time it hit me, I was like, wait, Star Trek's wrong. The final frontier is not space. It's actually inside us. That's the final frontier. Discover who we are at a deep level. And so I can't get there without the friction of life. And so the friction of life, that's how pearls are formed. They're formed through friction.
Right.
I think it's pearls.
Absolutely.
I think it's pearls, and I think diamonds are formed by pressure. I might have that backwards, but it doesn't really matter. Everybody gets what I'm saying.
So absolutely, yeah.
And so we're always looking for this, and so we spend our lives spinning our wheels trying to be perfect. And the truth is, you don't want to be perfect. You want to actually go and experience life, make mistakes, have those feelings, have those, and this is going to be a big one. Nobody's going to like this. Have those hurt feelings. Because what ends up happening is then you learn and you grow. So it's interesting because I had an experience where somebody I was seeing in a group of friends had lied to me. And And it hurt. It hurt pretty bad, actually. And so, and then I started doing exactly what we've been talking about. After the hurt and all the anger and all that stuff, I started blessing them. And
right.
then then the information of wisdom started coming in. So now I started going out and started dating again. And, just meet people, talk to people, nothing too serious. And what's ended up happening is I start looking at things, and I've gotten honest with people. Say, I don't think this is going to work. I mean, and here's the reason why. And not harmful, not hurtful, but I'm ending it before we get to the place where feelings start between the two of us. Because you can actually fall in love with somebody that's full of red flags.
Oh, yeah.
Because
been there, done that,
bought the t-shirt. So, and it's actually harmful to you and to them. And so somebody, if they can catch it early on and say, nope, this isn't the right, because what ends up happening is that you're probably supposed to be with somebody else. Or maybe you were supposed to be there with them for a lesson or learning or growth. But now you've been with them, you learned that, so then you go into the next thing, and I can start saying, this is going to right, because I've already had that lesson. I don't need to repeat it. And so now I get to go to the next person. So I've been asking for somebody that loves me as much as I love them, and for somebody that makes me as happy as much as I make them happy. And I do it both ways on purpose, because I've had people that make me happy, but I don't necessarily make them happy.
Yeah.
And so it's not a bad thing. It's just there's no chemistry there. And so this is what I want people to start saying, is start feeling and to feel this. And it's exciting. It's just one of the coolest things, because I love myself enough to say I want the best of everything that I want divinely given, and then and I want that person, whoever comes in my life, friendships, whatever, I want us to have good, rich experiences. And so, and it's just it's a fun life when it comes to that.
Oh yeah, it sure is. And I always like to say, we, about not being perfect. I would say about my family, we put the fun in dysfunctional. Right in the middle of that word is fun.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
It's so much fun. I mean, it's just one of those things where, and we have all kinds of judgments, all of us. I have judgments. Other people have judgments. I mean, I've had people make comments, because I still go out to the clubs here on occasion, not as much as I used to, but I do. And they make comments about being a spiritual. Why is he's a spiritual person, but he's going out? And I'm like, yeah, because it's this life that I have where I actually choose to enjoy it. And some people say, well, that's not fun for me anymore. Well, then don't do it.
Exactly. If it doesn't make you feel good, don't do it.
I gave a reading to a lady a few weeks ago, and she was the reading kept talking about her having fun, her enjoying life, her doing the things that she wanted to do. Well, she was a nurse that had taken care of everybody her entire life, and she never really got to do the things that she wanted to have. She was adventurous in a sense, but it always took her back to, her obligations. Well, she had changed, too, as a person. The things that she found fun when she was 21 were not what she found fun at 75, but she was still going out and, having a beer with her friends and, talking a little bit here and there. But really what fun is for her is reading her books and curling up under a blanket and with her books and her cats. She doesn't find it fun going out to have beers anymore. And, she goes, if I want to see my friends, I invite them over for dinner. But really I liked reading my books because it's a vast adventure in those books. And what I thought is like, that's fun for her, so that's what she should do. And so what I would say to everybody else, don't just find your life purpose out there. Find what's fun for you and do it. And that'll change. It's like one of my friends, she loves being in her garden. That just brings her so much joy. And so we have to follow those things. So
Yeah, so follow your heart. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just doing the work on yourself, spending quality time with just yourself. Get to know yourself. Getting to know you, getting to know all about you.
Love that song.
Me too. And even The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all.
You're really bringing back memories here for me. I performed that. I was a part of the Suncoast Sound Drum and Bugle Corps, and we performed The Greatest Love of All. So, and that was that song still brings. And then we also did Hello Again by I think it's Neil Diamond. But yeah, it was just such a fun experience. And so, but you're right, The Greatest Love of All. And what the interesting part is if we love ourselves first, this is a hard conversation for people. If we love ourselves first, I can guarantee you will love your children just as much as you love yourself. You will love your parents just as much as you love yourself. You'll love your spouse just as much as you love yourself, because you will treat people how you treat yourself. And what ends up happening is we treat people better than we treat ourselves.
Oh yeah.
So and so we've got it backwards. If we treated ourselves really, really well, I can guarantee you that we will treat other people's really, really well. But what we're doing is treating people really, really well and depleting ourselves. If we do it the other way around and treat ourselves really, really well, we'll never get depleted. Well, because what ends up happening is you'll say to somebody, hey, I actually do want to do that with you. I can't do it today. How about this day? Or, that really doesn't work for me. Those plans don't really work for me. I don't think I would be really into that. You should probably do it with somebody that would really enjoy it so you could really experience it. And that's I've been actually saying that to some of my friends, and it's really very powerful, because I've learned some things that I just don't like doing as much. I actually prefer when people come over to my house and we hang out,
Yeah.
and instead of me going out. And I also really like my alone time and my quiet time. And so why would I want to bring somebody with me or to do something with somebody that they're not as into it as I am? I want to bring somebody that I want to do it with me, that is really excited. And so these are the things that we have to really start doing, is that, and then we say, well, they should come with me because I do a lot of things that they want to do and I don't really want to do it. I'm like, well, why did you do it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they're my friend and I love them. And yeah, I guess I could see that to a certain level, and there's sometimes that you might be in the mood to do it. And it's one of those things where we really have to start honoring ourselves and be in the heart, because I can guarantee you if you honor yourself, you'll honor other people, because it just kind of goes with the territory.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Loving yourself, Lucille Ball had a quote. It was like the best quote I heard. It was saying, you have to love yourself first and everything else falls into place.
Yeah. It really does.
It's true, and it's not selfish. It's just clearing out the junk in you, reprogramming yourself, and then emitting out that energy. And as you know, it has that boomerang effect, and it comes right back. And, it changes the world in so many ways. There was a Harvard study back in the 90s with, I think, 7,000 yogic flyers. They call it the Maharishi effect. When you have a bunch you have a bunch of people meditating together, and it dramatically decreased crime. And, we can affect the planet in so many different ways, because we have our unique energetic human auric field, and every thought, word, and deed gets projected out into the Earth's magnetic field. We can affect believe it or not, we can affect the weather. We can affect other people. You know, we can bring about peace in the world. You know, we'll have to work on the greed part because I'm seeing a lot of greed out there too with, you know, with constant raising of prices, you know, between gas and food and, you know, just a lot of, and rent. Talk about rent. You know, it's just unbelievable.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things what we can do with greed is we start working on our own greed.
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening is that we start seeing ourselves as we have more than enough. And I don't even have to put it, if you want to play with it, you can, but like I just always say, I have more than enough. And I always have more than enough to do whatever it is I need to do. And so, you know, backing up to that, not being out of work for a while, I got severance, unemployment. So, sorry,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. No, you were talking. I just wanted to reiterate that. Yeah, I mean, what you just said is good. You know, it begins with you, and you have to change your inner programming from lack to abundance.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean you're not going to go through experiences that are going to trigger that lack in you. But you don't have to continue. You don't have to actually respond to it in that lack. You can say, no, I have more than enough. And then what will happen is because we're all connected to the same field of energy, your feelings of having more than enough will be contagious to other people. They'll all feel it. As you touch people's lives, that energy will pass to them, and it'll chip away in that exterior of all of us, that feeling of lack. Because what's happening is that we're feeling lack in ourselves because we don't feel like we deserve. And so what does it do? It brings us big evil corporations that come into our lives that, you know, continue to raise prices, raise taxes, raise interest rates, do all this kind of stuff, you know, cause a huge international pandemic. And, you know, people will get really pissed at me about this, but it's really about, we didn't necessarily on a third dimensional level cause all these things to happen. What we did do as individuals is we felt lack and that we didn't have enough. And so what did the world do? It says, okay, all right, well, you don't have enough. So you can experience this because everybody's experienced this pandemic differently. If you really pay attention, some people, you know, got nervous and they did what they could have to protect themselves. There's some people that just, you know, I got to do what I got to do, you know, and protect myself and do what I need to do. And there's some people that thought it was, you know, well, we know what all the people were opposed to all that other kind of stuff. So everybody responded differently. And it's because who they are inside. And so my income went up in the pandemic. And so it's one of those things. And I started looking at it because I wasn't really worried about gas prices, not having a place to live, all that kind of stuff. And so in order for that and I didn't necessarily, I mean, I did when I moved to this apartment, I said, I'm going to have to make some more money. And so you're going to have to fix this.
Yeah.
And so it started responding. And this isn't about bragging. It's about, I want everybody to really feel this.
Yeah.
Because you can do it too. And it starts changing the greed within you. And that comes down to even sometimes if I feel like I need to help somebody, and I will do it. Because if I felt like, oh, that was going to be a waste of my time, or I can't do this, for whatever reason, or the guy that asked me for $5, if I really feel like if I have the $5 and I really feel like I need to do it, and I don't give it to him because he just needs to get a job.
Yeah.
Then that blocks my abundance, because where it blocks it is my judgment, because judgment is the glue, the fabric and the glue that holds the illusion together. So,
Yeah. It's, I got really inspired last night by two people that won the Oscars last night. Hae Kwai Kwan, He originally played Short Round in Indiana Jones.
I saw a picture of him.
Yeah,
they were hugging. Yeah, I didn't watch the Oscars, but I saw that and I was like, wow, he looks so much different, but such bright energy.
Oh my God, yeah, totally amazing, and he was just so appreciative and so happy, and he was crying. He got me crying. He's like, he goes, I came over here, and I was, he basically said he was in a refugee camp, and he started out, his early life, on a boat, and then going to a refugee camp, and then he goes, here I am holding an Oscar tonight. How does that, he goes, your dreams can come true, if you believe in them. You just have to believe. And I was just I was like, wow. I was like, yeah, I was so happy. And then there was also, can you imagine just being on a boat when you're a little kid, saying, oh my God, I'm going to a different country. And then not only that, learn the language, and then, go into a refugee camp, and then all these years later, standing up at a podium holding an Oscar. It just blew my mind, and it just made me believe in dreams again. And you have to believe your magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I'm going to play next, right?
What's that?
You have to, actually, Magic by the late, great Olivia Newton-John.
Oh,
I just
nice.
thought I'd play that. Yeah. Kind of remind ourselves that we're all capable of this. Yeah. Believe in your dreams, believe in your magic. So I'm gonna play that. And we'll be right back.
I'll be God.
That's right. You have to believe in your own magic. You have the ability to create or destroy. Which do you choose? Well, that was Magic by the late, great Olivia Newton-John. I'm going to bring back Jeremy. Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, how are you?
Hanging in there, thanks.
I started thinking about Xanadu when they were playing that.
Too.
Do you remember the movie Xanadu?
I love that movie. Even though it didn't get critical acclaim, I thought it was very entertaining, you know.
There's a lot of good movies that don't necessarily get, you know, the attention that they should have gotten probably. But they still affect and touched people's hearts, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, and a great soundtrack, too, with ELO and Olivia Newton-John. I thought it was just amazing. Just amazing. Yeah. And, just, you know, believe in your dreams. You know, do the work on yourself. You know, the 4 agreements. You know, just believe in your dreams and just emanate goodness and keep your feelings in check. Don't sweep them under the carpet. That's one thing I used to do by eating too much, working too much, just basically sweeping everything under the carpet and just internalizing it.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I would internalize all my emotions and I would tell people, "Oh, things are fine. I'm good."
Yeah. Meanwhile,
and then, you know, right, and then I realized, I was like, wait a second. It's actually kind of not okay for me. It's not just for me. You know, I'm internalizing this, and I'm not saying something to somebody because I don't want to deal with whatever it is, or I don't want to hurt people's feelings or whatever. And I realized that if I tell somebody something, it may benefit them. They may get upset with me. They may have all those things, but they may leave, and it causes something inside of them that they have to look at it. You know, and then they grow and I grow. Because I grew from having to speak my truth, and then they grew from either receiving it or not. And so those are one of those things where the energy is there. It's to help us grow and do what we need to do as individuals, as souls, and then as a collective consciousness. And so, and then the universe starts to respond. And like, what if I, you know, say something to somebody, they leave and they go out and they find somebody new in their life, friendship or otherwise, but that friendship really changes them and inspires them so much, and they go out and do, you know, create something that saves the world. You know what I mean? And if I didn't speak my truth in that moment, then they may have not have stepped into that.
Right.
So, or found the person that is better suited for them. And then I because I didn't say it, then I didn't bring new people into my life. You know, it's just one of those things where we just have to start looking at these things. And if we're in the flow of spirit, then we'll respond. And so that's something that came to me in meditation about a year ago. I'll know what to say when I need to say it. I'll know what to do when I need to do it. And I'll know where to be when I need to be there. And so if I know that, if I believe that, and then I know that and believe that for other people, that they're going to know what to do when they need to do it, all that kind of stuff. That's pretty freaking cool. And so
that is freaking cool.
And so then we let go of what we need to let go of when we need to, and we act on the things that we need to act on when we need to act on. And so it's really, and so but the ego gets in there and it says, well, Jared, that's a really nice thing to say, and sounds like a really great world, but it's just not practical because that's not how people will respond. Well, but maybe them not knowing and acting, you know, in a way that is not conscious for them causes you to move or say something that makes them conscious. Or create the environment. And so if you know that the universe, yeah, if you know the world is flowing exactly the way it needs to flow, because we say these cliche statements, well, everything happens for a reason. Well, it does, and so And with that being said, we're saying that, but we don't really believe it all the time.
No.
So.
Now, the subconscious mind tends to pop up, and with me, it
Yeah.
took me years, literally years to, not control it, but just calm it down. Just think of the subconscious mind as a rebellious teenager that keeps trying to get or a little kid that keeps trying to get your attention, and when it doesn't get your attention, guess what? It'll magnetically attract, or emit out a signal and attract something that you need to pay attention to. And It's just been quite the journey trying to, well, I shouldn't say trying. I've pretty much resolved all that. And, that's why it's so true. When I heard the expression, it's okay not to be okay, I gave myself permission to feel again, to not kind of lie to myself. I mean, there's kind of like fake it till you make it only goes so far. Yeah, but you have to get real with yourself, because if you don't, guess what? Your subconscious mind's going to be like, you don't, I know the truth about you, and just attract the people and situations that that you need to heal.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. By the way, I was going to tell you, I don't know if you remember, you gave me a candle holder for my birthday one year, and I just looked over and it's sitting on my hutch where it's been for years.
Oh, that's so cool! I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah,
that makes me happy.
Really cool.
Yeah. They'll leave a light on for you.
Yeah.
I'm like Motel 6.
I think there's 6 lights in there, so.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
So it's just so, I think the way the universe works is just miraculous, because we're basically little cells moving around in this great universe, and then that when you think about the cells in your body, that it literally is the building blocks of your body, and then you're that within another great body. That's pretty freaking amazing.
It is amazing. And when I learned about the auric field, the human auric field, it's generated. We have hundreds of chakras, but we usually focus on the main 7, and they work like wheels. They work clockwise and counterclockwise, and it generates our magnetic field around us that psychically protects us. And it's magnetic in nature, and knowing that our thoughts, our speech, and our deeds are magnetic too, and it gets projected out into the world, that kind of gives the power back to us, So anytime you flick, anybody out there, anytime you flick on the TV and you see all these bad news stories and everything, just keep in mind, if you pray and meditate, you can actually help make things better. And who knows, maybe we can one day eradicate all this. Reverend Temple Hayes, I look up to her. She had an article called "Don't Let the Breaking News Break You," and I really like that. I always believed that, and my dad, ever since I was a young kid, told me, don't watch the news all day. Don't do that, because you're sensitive, and you're going to soak that in like a sponge, and it's going to affect you. And it's true.
It is. Yeah. It is, because I have to kind of keep myself off of social media, or scrolling through the news feed at least, because I don't want to see it all. I don't want to see it, all that stuff. And it's one of those things where I chose to have my social media be fun. And
yeah.
I had a friend named Carla tell me years ago. She said, if you would start using your social media like this, I want you to start seeing it as a party, and then you get to invite people to the party that you actually want to hang out with. That's your social media. And so, like we were talking about earlier, where I was pushing and pushing and pushing and trying so hard, my social media was one of those things. And so, and I would never get the traction that I felt I needed to get. And so, I as far as my business and all that stuff went, and well, in 2020, I lost my Facebook and Instagram. I was associated with a friend of mine's blog. I could contribute on his page, and then also back in those times they were deleting healers during that time frame. But because I was connected to his page was a conspiracy theory blog, I got taken off of Facebook. So, and I never posted anything of his on my Facebook page ever. But because I was an admin and I would post my stuff, about being positive and healing and all that other kind of stuff, I got deleted. And so those are one of the things. And it was the best thing that ever happened.
Okay.
I mean, it didn't feel right at the time. Of course, I was upset. I lost like 17,000, individuals on my connections on my Facebook and all this 10 years of work and all that kind of stuff. But then I thought, no. This is great because obviously I need to see something here. And so I was off social media for 3 months. I didn't even have a Facebook. I didn't post anything. I didn't do anything. And I lost access to my groups and all that kind of stuff. So, I started my show with the Los Angeles Tribune. And I thought, I'm going to have to go back on social media. So I recreated a new Facebook, but I set the intention this time of it being fun. And so when I realized that my old Facebook had all kinds of drama, the news feeds were full of people always arguing, and I would get attacked even on my own Facebook for just posting something about be peaceful today.
Yeah.
And so now my new Facebook, new social media, I don't have any of that. So
that's
the
good.
universe did something amazing for me. Yeah, it hurt to let go of all that work. And now that's because I built those building blocks on things that were about doing it hard, making it hard, having to get followers, all that other kind of stuff. And I could care less now because only the people that are going to be in my network are people that I want to have fun with.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
And you're a part of that network, so we're having fun.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, sometimes it takes like a not so nice thing to happen in order for an even better thing to happen. It just sometimes you just have to go through that. It's almost like being a lotus. Like the lotus grows in mud, but as it keeps growing, it pushes through the mud.
Yeah.
That's why it's such used as a spiritual flower, because you really have to do the work and dig deep, literally dig deep in all that muck to lift yourself out and have the sunlight shine on you.
Yeah. Yeah. I get excited now when my day comes up and just seeing what it's going to be like. I mean, I still get caught into those days where I'm like, don't really want to get out of bed. But that's also a part of the joy of going through it. And it's like start being happy with being human.
Right.
And,
allow yourself to feel.
Yeah. Like going through my homework, like for the master's degree, I would drag my feet and procrastinate. I mean, I feel like I was a high school kid again. And I would literally sit here on my couch and be like, I really need to go in there and do homework. And I would turn on the television and watch a couple, I'd start binge watching. I'd be like, I really need to go in there and get done with homework. And then what I found for a while, I was like waiting till the last minute and cramming it all in there and getting it done. I was still getting the work done. But then I learned, well, what if I did like 30 minutes every day, fit it in somewhere. And so then that took the stress off. So the choice was here. I could either do it with stress or not. And so now the stress part wasn't fun, but the epiphany of I literally made myself go through all that stress when I could have just done it so easy. And then the fun part is then you get to laugh at yourself. Then you get to go, wow, really made that kind of hard, didn't you, Jer?
Yeah.
And so it's we just have to change the energy on how we see things and do things. I still had the stress and all the heaviness of procrastinating, but I had to go through that to figure it out. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's, like you said, it's the process. It's a journey. And when I talk about a journey, our 2-hour journey is almost done. And the time just flies when I talk to you, Jeremy, and I just have a good time. And once again, I want to tell everybody your site, Storytelling Alchemist, and your book, Peace Be Still, which is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any bookstore out there. You're going to find this book. And is there any last words that you would like to impart?
Yeah. Go out there in life and have fun. And here, the realistic part is I realize that you may have things going on in your life that aren't so fun. Like, you may really not like your job, those kind of stuff. However, I will tell you I've not liked a lot of my jobs. And I worked for a company a few years ago, and there was a lot of things about that job I did not like. And it was just really a lot of stress. There was also a lot of things about it I did like. But what the amazing part of that whole experience was, that whole 3 years experience, it taught me how to value myself. So what I mean by going out there and having fun is I want you to really look back at that. Was it worth me going through those 3 years to learn how to value myself? And I still made great friends. And I actually, as much as my boss frustrated me, I'm so grateful to him because he was exactly what I needed to value myself on so many levels.
Oh,
and I'm not meaning that in any sarcastic or facetious way. I genuinely appreciate him and who he is and that company for teaching me how to value myself. And that is one amazing thing to look at. So still I had to go through all the anger, all the hurt and all stuff. So that's what I'm meaning about having fun is going out there, because the fun part is the epiphany after everything. And so if you know you're going to have that, then you know that the reward, the golden pot is at the end of the rainbow. So if you know it's there, then of course you'd walk through that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Heaven's on the other side of this wall, but you have to walk through all the dark and scary stuff to get there. Everybody will be like, of course I'm going to do it. If you promise me I'm going to have all that on the other end, yeah, I'll do it. Give me my sword. I'll walk through that scary forest.
Oh, yeah. So it's totally worth it. It's been a 15-year journey for me, 16-year for you. And, with all the scary times, all the hurt times, has led me to this point, and, got to walk the walk in order to talk the talk. And, that's why I created this show, so we can talk about these things and work through them. So, once again, thank you, Jeremy, and, got to have you back on again soon.
Yeah, awesome. I would really love that, and I had a lot of fun.
Me too. Oh, and do tell everybody about the event coming up in Tampa again.
Yeah, so it's at the Church of Harmony and Sacred Space on April 15th, and it's from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'm actually needing vendors for anybody that is a spiritual practitioner, makes jewelry, all that kind of stuff, and it's at 715 Manhattan Avenue in Tampa, Florida. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and my favorite part is Asterius is going to be there, or Astarius. And I've known about him for 16 years. He's part of the reason, his CDs are part of the reason why I'm on my healing journey.
Wow.
So it's cool because he happens to go to that church randomly in the last 3 months because he moved to Lakeland into Florida on November 5th. Tell me that's not the universe. Full circle coming back and saying, this teacher who you've never actually met, but his CDs helped you in this next step of your journey. And now you get to meet him. Now you get to work with him. That's cool.
Oh, that is just amazing. And before you said full circle, in my mind, I heard the word full circle. So There you go. Your life is a never-ending journey, but I believe that your spiritual journey is, I can't say complete, but I know that it's more of an enlightened. The rest of your journey is going to be more fun and enlightened.
Well, thank you. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure we'll be on some of those adventures together.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be more than happy and honored to do so, I should say.
Awesome.
Well, thank you again, Jeremy. I'll take us out with "Peace in Our Time" by Eddie Money, formerly Eddie Mahoney, New York City cop. The late great Eddie Money. Peace in Our Time.
Awesome.
Oh, darling, how strong is love supposed to be? Surrounded by fire and magic, we long to be free. It's heating up down on the streets, it's a shame. So be strong enough to fly with our love like a phoenix from the flame. Gotta have faith to work it out, faith and hope. Without a doubt, give us strength to make us start Gonna make the Lord the bottom line. Gonna find peace in our time. Never gonna break down the walls. Fill the prison with a stone. 'Cause you and I know one of my free world. Gonna do the heavy hero. We're running with the winds of fortune and water line. Making love the bottom line. Finding peace in our time.
Let's make it happen. Peace in our time. Have a good night, everybody.